Every man who learns to obey his soul must one day betray his master, not with bitterness, but with reverence. The kind of betrayal that doesn't burn bridges. It simply outgrows them, because at the edge of every real awakening there's a death, not of the teacher, but of your need for them, not of a person, but of the illusion that truth lives outside of you. That's the kill, the moment you stop echoing someone else's wisdom and begin listening for your own. If you've ever felt torn between what the world expects and what your soul knows, this story is yours. Rainer Maria Rilke said, "The only journey is the one within." But few ever take it. One man in the middle of Athens did. It cost him his life, but he retained his soul. Socrates never claimed to be wise. He just kept asking questions, gently, relentlessly, until the illusions people carried began to fall away. He didn't lead with answers. He led with presence, with clarity, with silence. And underneath it all, he listened to something that spoke only to him. He called it the Daimonion, a quiet signal that arose from within. Not a commandment, not a prophecy, just a gentle restraint. And when they brought him to trial, when they gave him the chance to flee, it said nothing. Silent, still, unmoving, which meant only one thing. Death was the right path. His last words weren't for the jury. They were for his friend. A whisper of truth about healing through death. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Socrates had to die, why every great thinker must one day be betrayed, and why true wisdom doesn't begin with obedience, but with the courage to follow the voice no one else can hear. We all begin by following a parent, a teacher, a guide. We imitate, we absorb, and for a time, that's enough. But imitation can't last forever. Eventually, we confuse obedience for wisdom, loyalty for understanding, clarity for agreement. Obedience isn't peace. It's suffocation in borrowed clothes. We cling to their quotes like scripture, keep their books close, as if proximity made us wise. But they were never the destination, only the signpost. Still, we linger, not because they asked for worship, but because we're afraid to walk alone. But the true teacher prepares you for that moment, to awaken the part of you that no longer needs them, because reverence becomes a ceiling when it keeps you from listening to yourself. Socrates said, "I know that I know nothing," not to deny truth, but to stay open to it. He understood that real wisdom lives in humility, not performance, not certainty, but a kind of reverent, ongoing inquiry. The deeper we go, the subtler truth becomes. It doesn't shout, it signals, not with volume, but with presence. And when we chase noise, we miss the quiet movements that were trying to guide us all along. This isn't a rejection of teachers. It's a return to what they revealed. Not their authority, but the place in you they always pointed toward. The part that's already listening. Already enough. But when you stop echoing, how do you know what voice is truly yours? That question, the one no teacher can answer, is where the real journey begins. For most of us, that question goes unanswered. But for one man, it became his life's compass. Socrates said of the Daimonion, "It began in my boyhood, a sort of voice, which turns me away from what I am about to do, but never urges me on. It never gave him orders, never mapped a path forward, only intervened, softly, unmistakably, when something was wrong. A pause, a refusal, not from fear, from clarity. It only ever said one thing, no." Most of us hear that kind of signal as discomfort, a flicker of hesitation. We call it conscience, intuition, a gut feeling. But too often we override it. We do what's expected, we say what's safe, and lose the chance to meet ourselves in the stillness. Not every inner voice is divine. Some are echoes of ego, But discernment begins not by shouting back, but by listening deeper. Socrates didn't obey noise. He trusted the silence, the not doing, the restraint that didn't please the crowd, but honored the soul. When he was put on trial, Socrates said, "Meletus says I corrupt the youth by inventing new gods, but I think it's because I listened to a divine sign." He knew what the city feared most wasn't what he taught, but what he obeyed. Not a law, not a leader, but something they couldn't see and couldn't control. Carl Jung called it the self, a center deeper than ego, where truth isn't learned but remembered. He said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." That's what made Socrates free. Not his defiance, not his death, but his listening. We think truth requires shouting, but Socrates showed it might begin with a whisper and end in silence. And in that silence, something awakens. Not noise, not rebellion, but the soul itself. But listening is only the beginning. Living from that voice, that's where the fire begins. And fire always burns away what no longer fits. Most of us hear the voice, not in thunder, but in moments that ask for more honesty than we've ever given. You feel it when you're about to say yes, but something deeper says no. You feel it in the middle of noise, when silence begins to ache like truth. To follow it is not easy. It won't make you rich. It won't make you popular. It makes you real, because the Daimonion won't flatter you. It won't let you sell yourself short or sell your soul for comfort. It calls you out of performance and into presence. Lao Tzu wrote, "The master doesn't seek fulfillment, not seeking, not expecting, she is present." The Daimonion is the same. It doesn't push. It waits, and it doesn't force clarity. It reveals it. You'll lose things, acceptance, belonging, maybe even peace. But what you'll find is worth more than approval. You'll find yourself, not as an image, not as a brand, but as a soul in integrity with its own becoming. Socrates died for this, but it wasn't death he honored, it was healing. Before he drank the hemlock, he turned to his friend and said, "Crito, we owe a cock to Asclepius. See that it is paid." Asclepius was the god of healing. People gave roosters in thanks after recovering. So why, in his final moment, did Socrates speak of healing? Because for him, death wasn't punishment. It was liberation, a cure for illusion, a thank you for clarity. He gave his life for this, but it's what you're still alive to embody. Socrates didn't follow the Daimonion because he was special. He followed it because he practiced listening. That kind of listening takes time, not to the loudest voice, but to the quietest one, the one that doesn't flatter, the one that waits beneath fear. So how do you begin? Start noticing silence. When something inside you pauses, don't override it. Don't rush. Don't explain. Just listen. Begin with a daily 2-minute check-in. No goals, just honesty. Protect your integrity more than your image. Let others misunderstand you. Let some things go unsaid. Before you speak, ask, is this true to my center or just my mask? Make time to listen on purpose. Meditate. Journal. Walk without your phone. You don't need a method, just the willingness to meet yourself without noise. If Socrates had a practice, this was it. Listening without demand. Emerson called this self-trust the iron string every heart vibrates to, but only if it stops performing and starts listening. And like any instrument, you have to tune it again and again, not once, but daily, in quiet moments when no one is watching. This is how it begins, not with defiance, not with drama, but with the smallest refusal to betray your soul. The Daimonion didn't belong to Socrates. It was just his name for something every soul can hear, if it's quiet enough and honest enough to listen. If this stirred something in you, don't rush to understand it. Just notice the places where you've been silent, and the places where silence has been waiting for you. As Rumi wrote, there is a voice that doesn't use words. Listen. If this video resonated with you, don't stop here. Watch our next one, Nietzsche's silent trick that makes you untouchable, where we explore how silence isn't weakness, but the hidden strength behind history's most dangerous minds. From Musashi to Marcus Aurelius, you'll see what happens when a man stops performing and starts listening. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And if this video helped you hear something in yourself, share it with someone who's ready to listen too. Because sometimes the most dangerous act of rebellion is silence.